This podcast is hardly focused.
Ah, the French.
We are Hardly Focused. Jack Gill, Nate Filler, Zach Ward. We are part of the Solid Listen Podcast Network. You can find us at hardlyfocused.com and wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Just search for Hardly Focused. This is episode 666 of our podcast, and
it's a magic number.
We are celebrating it with the most satanic band around, Sbassbear, featuring our own Nate Fillers, along with Dan Allen. Their new album is called Fever Dream Radio. It's available to stream on Spotify and YouTube. Nate and Dan from Sbassbear. Hello!
Howdy. Thanks for having us. I'm honored to be on the most satanic number you could have for an episode. Thank you.
Yeah,
I like friendship.
Dan, I've known for a long time. I think, like, I've known you for a long time. I think we've only ever spent time together maybe 2 or 3 times before tonight. I do remember
we went to a Subways concert like 6 years ago.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That was such a good show. And one of my favorite memories of that show is afterwards, it was at the Brighton Music Hall, which is like 500 people can fit in that place.
Yeah.
It's
If
not,
you're lucky.
yeah, it's not a big venue in the least. And bands like the Subways, and then I saw Biffy Clyro there another time. These are bands that do incredibly well and played like festivals, sold out festivals in like the UK, and they're high up on the bill there. And then when they come to the US, they play this closet in, on Com Ave in Brighton. And but you get the
closet.
You get an advantage though of the band members then just walking around after the show and just hanging out with everybody. So we were hanging out with the bass player from the Subways, Charlotte Cooper, and Nate, very excited to meet Charlotte and talk to her. And my favorite part of that whole exchange is at one point, Dan, you finally grab Nate and you're like, all right, come on, Nate, it's time to go.
I had to drag him away.
I mean, it's
I don't
like talking
that.
bass to another bass. Like, it's like, whoa.
She does.
Wow. It sounds like you really enjoyed it, man.
It was cool.
When she does jump around on stage, and Nate, you were pointing that out to her, is that she bounces around on stage while singing, while being able to play, and just makes it look effortless.
Honestly, that's like my biggest thing is I don't understand how people can talk and sing and play music at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Talking and singing at the same time would be quite the feat.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just I don't have that brain.
Well, I mean,
Insert dial-up sound.
Yeah.
Talking and singing. I mean, William Shatner did that rock album back in the 80s. So, I mean, that's anything is possible. Now, but in all seriousness, like La Dispute and Me Without You, that's sort of like talk singing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking with pitch.
Yeah. Because it's not, I wouldn't call that spoken word, but it's also not singing in the least. There's some degree of melody to it. Yeah. But it's not exactly crooning.
I don't even think I could talk while playing bass. Like, if depending on what the bass line is. Of course, if it's like 4/4 and it's like something pretty basic, it's like, yeah, of course. But a lot of the times I'm like trying to pay attention to what the drums are doing and trying to make it like very rhythmical, and it requires all brain power.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, okay, I don't know. Basically what I'm saying is I'm going through hell when I'm playing bass. I'm like, I've got to get to the next fret. It's like an obstacle course.
Well, Nate, playing bass, I mean, you make it look effortless too. I mean, I've played music with you for a long time, and yeah, your musical ability has always impressed me. It started with the drums and bass, and then now Sbassbear.
Yes, it's very nice of you to include drums. That's very kind.
Well,
For those of you who don't know, I used to use sticks on a drum set, and then people called me a drummer.
Hey, you did a pretty cromulent drum solo, I remember, in our 7th grade talent show.
That's about it.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, how many drums can I hit at once? And like how can I, put this young angst into a tangible form?
You peaked early, man. That's, there's nothing to be
so.
ashamed about that.
Dan's always been a drummer, though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's true, although my greatest regret right now is that I don't have anywhere to put a drum set where I live right now. So I haven't actually played drums in like maybe a decade.
Damn.
It's really sad.
That was my motivation for buying a house, was knowing I could set up a drum set in it. And you best believe within like the first year or two that I lived here, I got a drum set set up, and I still use some of Nate's equipment.
Mm-hmm. He has a bunch of wood blocks or cowbell or whatever.
A wood block and a cowbell. And you gave me a really nice crash ride too that I shredded in about 20 minutes.
Yep, you totally did. So we were playing like this talent show or whatever, and I brought one of my cymbals over, and like during rehearsal, he just like hit it once, it just cracked in half.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, don't be buying your drum sets at Sears, dude. That's what happens.
They were Zelgin. It's a serious choice.
That's
what Zelgin?
Yeah.
There's where you went wrong.
Sabian all the way, dude.
Is it Zildjian?
Dude,
it's
I think you got some knockoff shit, man.
Okay, well, thanks for tuning in today. Check us out next time.
Well, on that note, and again, it's Sbassbear, Sbassbear. I had to correct. Did I spell it right?
I don't know.
Correct myself.
I already don't know.
Yeah, it's Sbassbear.
Thank you.
Sbassbear. And then people are like, so your name is S-Bass. And it's like, no.
Or Spass.
Steven Bassbear.
We got the search engine optimization, though.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. And we found out before we started recording, Nate, we searched for your name, and Hardly Focus comes up on the second page on Google. So we're moving on up in the world.
Sweet. What's on the first page?
My
DeviantArt,
YouTube, your album, your music.
Oh, okay.
Pshaw, I say. The album.
All right,
so the album is called Fever Dream Radio, and I'll make it easy for you. You can find it at hardlyfocus.com/Nate.
Sweet.
At one point, that used to go to the Sbassbear Comedy Channel, and
that's true.
I've redirected.
We stopped putting stuff on there.
But you have another Sbassbear channel on YouTube.
Yes, it's just Sbassbear.
It's just the music.
No comedy.
No comedy.
Just Sbassbear.
More dramedy.
In fact, a lot of times if you search Sbassbear comedy, the other YouTube channel pops up anyway. So it's like whatever.
Very meta, actually, and when you think about it.
So I'm going to rip the bandage off here and put Zach on the spot. Zach, what did you think of Fever Dream Radio?
Oh, well, I mean, like, honestly, I've kind of been here through most of the process, like not like putting things together, but like I've been like in and around while like been putting things together and trying to like pick a good direction to go with. So like it's really cool to see the full realized idea, because like a lot of people don't know that like there's actually a couple things on there that's like from stuff from like years ago that like they've put together. Like no one's really gonna know that, but like I know that, like, because I can hear it when I like listen to everything. So it's if it's I would say it is, unless you really like know like joke like bands, like it's kind of really hard to kind of put it into like a category. But like, you know, like we all love Crotch Duster, and like they're so, I don't know a lot of people that know Crotch Duster, but like that's like that vein that like they kind of went with, is just like trying to find a way of doing all of their kind of different kind of musical tastes, and also taking themselves as seriously unseriously as they can. As kind of how it comes off to me. And like, so I have like, I don't know, my ear for it's different than I think any general listener, but like honestly, until we started talking, I didn't even realize that y'all had like a following, like people just like looking at stuff on like the Game Grumps and on the like the Reddit forum and stuff. So I don't know, that part of it is really cool and really surreal, because I've known y'all for forever.
And on that note, Nate, how's it feel just knowing that like if you go on the Game Grumps subreddit, you see all this discourse about the new album?
Is it? No, I mean it's really always been like a thing. So like just a quick little history, like Dan and I have been making music for as long as I can remember, like probably early 2000s, whatever, and we've always thought it would be fun to make like silly music and everything. But the weird thing that happened was, right after I graduated college, we started doing like editing, like compilations and stuff, and then just kind of fell into the Game Grumps world. And, it's always been like a weird struggle to get like our own music to like shine. And I think like it's finally happening. And I think it feels very nice for people to actually be like, oh, you guys do original stuff too. We care about that now. Because like before, when we were first doing it, we were like, okay, here's like Game Grump stuff, like Game Grump remixes. And they would be like, hey, check out this song about quitting your job. And it would be like 200 views. And it'd be like, oh, which, okay. I mean, it's not
bad.
That's not bad, that's not nothing. But, when you're comparing yourself to like, all these other YouTube channels, you're like, God, like people are getting millions of views and it's like 200.
Just like a guy's like, her, look at my elbow, like 5 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if like you looked at like the content that we had before, like we would do like a Game Grumps remix and it would be like 100,000 views and be like, hell yeah. And then we put out our like songs that we worked on pretty hard and then it would just be like 50.
I mean, that's how I feel about doing this podcast is, if it's something that I put a lot of effort into, like a segment, video, whatever, and then I post it on YouTube, I'll get like a couple hundred views, like if that, organically. And then if it's something that I put absolutely zero effort into, and I'm talking like recording the video in a pitch black studio, looking disheveled and homeless, sitting in my pajamas, having not showered in 3 to 4 days. And then the video organically yields like 30,000 views.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool.
The lesson is never try.
Of course.
Like just don't
never try. Always do. Never try.
Yep.
What do you make of it, Dan? We've never really
make
talked
of what
about
exactly?
It. Of just like the shift in like the music, like. So
people
like
caring about it finally.
If you want to like let people know, like what was it? Where did the idea for the remixes come from? Because I mean, we always tried to do remixes, right? But then one day Dan heard music in something that didn't really have music to it, and he made a remix out of that. Because before we would be listening to like. Hear if there was like singing or something like that, like obviously if they sang something we'd be like, oh, let's try to make a remix out of that. But then there was this do I say diddle kid? Do I say diddle kid on podcast?
That's not even the one you're talking about. You're talking about
okay.
Apple Core.
Well, Nate, you can obviously say diddle kids because I mean I have this
1877 diddle kids.
Oh,
Wow,
Well,
you just had that on the ready?
yeah, he did.
That specifically?
Yeah, he has like he's a wizard. He has
that's
like
so many
amazing.
things.
he has a lot of things.
How many
like,
buttons you got back there?
Far, far, far too many. But they're all nice.
Wow.
They're nice, pretty colors, though, which makes me happy.
See, I was expecting you to say 2.
yeah. Yeah, keep it simple.
The intro button, and the one about Diddle Kids.
If you want to know, 1,213.
Wow.
The first one, number 1, is this,
I keep pooping during sex.
and the last one, 1,213, is this.
I'm here live. It's not. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But anyway, so what is this about diddling kids?
Oh, God damn it. No, okay, so like I think that's the video that like kind of put us on the map. And I was just like, I never really asked you like where that came from. I guess you just heard from like the Apple Core remix, you kind of heard some melody going on in this episode of Game Grumps, and then he was like, this is good. We should hire an animator and then sell it to Game Grumps.
Well, what happened with the first one is basically they had an episode where like their mic broke while they were recording, but it broke like it was cutting out, but it cut out in such a rhythmic way that like I could hear a beat to it. So I made the beat to it, and the video was I showed how it was broken, and then I showed myself fixing it by like putting drums to it and putting all the instruments in and like making it match the way it was cutting out rhythmically. And then like I went from there and I made a whole like music video with the whole completed song. And we had never done that before. Like we would just like make a song and we'd put like a picture, and that was the video on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
But this was the first time we made like an actual video. So like more people tuned in because there was something to watch. It was more engaging. And I saw like we had way more views on that video. So I was like, okay, we're on to something. We just got to put a little more effort into the video side of things. And I think people liked like the process of it, like showing how I got from the raw material to each step. And then now it's a full song. So we did that again with a different bit that they did on another episode. Except this time I went a step further and I hired an animator to actually animate the full music video. And then I sent it to the Game Grumps. And they were like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to put it on our channel. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Nice.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you. And then like from there on, we kind of just started to develop a relationship with the Grumps because they knew who we were at that point. And yeah. So, I mean, I could take that story way further, but that's the gist of it.
No, that's awesome. That so let's go back to my soundboard here. Years and years and years ago, while we were recording an episode, one of my audio processors just fried itself in the middle of the recording. So I'm gonna play this for you, and let me know if you can like pick out any sort of rhythm to it where you can potentially say like, hey, I can make a song out of this. Here we go.
It's like they keep touting it as an improvement upon the last version. This one will only...
I mean, yeah, right at the beginning, it almost has like a pitch to it. It's like,
Yeah, you can make a bass out of that.
you could make a fucking fat dubstep drop out of that.
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
You'd keep the talking in there, so because otherwise it wouldn't have any context. But yeah, you could do something with that
Awesome.
for sure.
Oh, that's amazing. That makes me happy. Yeah, I always equated that sound drop to like, this is what it sounds like as a nuclear bomb is being detonated in the middle of recording a podcast. Cause like you can still, the calamity, you can hear the explosion, but like you can still hear Fro talking in his jubilant way. And then it all just gets cut off. But Dan, how long have you been playing music for? I'm going to assume since a young age.
2003, I guess. That's when I first like really picked up a guitar and the drumsticks. It's basically when I moved in with Nate. Yeah, my mom moved up here and moved in with her brother, which is Nate's dad.
Mhm.
That's how it works.
Yeah, so I lived with him for a year, and his whole family is like musicians. So everybody was playing music in the house, and I just kind of picked it up. I was like, I want to do that. That's cool.
Are you
And
self-taught?
so yeah, yep,
Nice.
almost completely.
Awesome.
I did take piano lessons when I was like 7, but that's about it.
Do you find that like getting lessons and getting instruction and then like following, reading music and all that, do you find that to be just like not worth the effort?
It completely depends on the person. Some people, like, they really need someone else there to like be like, this is the next thing you need to focus on. Do this and then do this. And then if you mess up, I'm here to show you how you're messing up. Some people really benefit from that. I can take it or leave it. I'm the kind of person who really likes to learn from just like videos. So I like to say I went to YouTube University because that's where I've learned like almost all of my skills on everything.
Yeah.
From making music to like fixing a hot water heater, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's everything.
Like everything's on YouTube, and you can kind of learn just about anything.
You got to be careful though, because you might end up banging whoever's in your house if you are using the wrong YouTube. I looked up how to fix a water heater once, and it was like, first, you fuck this girl.
Wow.
And
Yeah, that
then
happens all the
you
time.
never fix the water heater.
Yeah.
Remember that
Internet.
guy that like did like the wholesome like porn videos where it was like, I go over and actually fix the water heater.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yep,
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah, it
guy.
was like I tuck her in to sleep and tell her good night and leave.
Yeah.
And lock her doors as I leave.
I just wanted to make it clear that's like the direction I was going. Because I don't think
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
very clear that I was just like, yeah, sometimes
No.
you fix a heater and other times you fuck somebody.
I noticed she was stuck trying to get something from underneath the bed, so I helped her out.
I fixed her water heater.
That's true. That's like a classic.
Water
No,
heater.
I mean, like that's the thing that I've always like. I learn from doing, and like Dan is actually good at digesting information and like doing stuff with it. Like when I read like how to do stuff, like I can't just read things and just like understand it. I have to like take it apart. I have to break it. I have to like fix it again.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I can do it. Like I'm immune to YouTube University because it's just like I just have to do it a certain amount of times before I can actually say that I did it, as opposed to like you read a book and you're like you understand like the process and like the mechanics of it and everything. I'm just like, I just like to make stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's true to a certain extent with most people. Like it can be really easy to watch a bunch of tutorials and think like I'm learning, but like if you never put it into practice, then you're never learning on a deeper level. So I think you got to do that no matter what.
Yep. Plus, like people, they give up too quickly. Like they go into it gung ho and then they try it for about 30 seconds and say, this is too difficult. I don't want to do this. And then they never go back to it and they never revisit it. And
I'll throw myself even further under that bus of saying a lot of the times you think that you like something until you discover like all the bullshit that comes with it. Like, it's not just the good parts. You can't just pick your favorite parts.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever you're doing any sort of like art or anything really, but in particular in this example, like art, like, I loved graphic design, but when it came to like printmaking, it was all like math. Like you had to like measure shit and make like the grid lines and make sure like the bleed margins were okay. And like you had to set it up appropriately. And I was like, that fucking sucks. I just want to make stuff. And that has been my downfall, because it's just like a lot of it is, but to that advantage, I've also learned a lot of different things because I haven't like stayed with one particular thing. So it's like master of a lot and not good at any or whatever.
That's it.
Jack of all, every, and good at none.
Yep.
But my point is, I don't have one.
Oh, there you go. Very good, Nick.
No.
I mean,
My
I get
point
that
is,
a
it's
lot.
like a part of it is understanding that with everything that you do, there's good parts and there's shit parts, and you can't ignore the shit parts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I know for me, like I know I was talking to like Dan about this like a while back, just kind of like the message back and forth, but like I kind of feel like I know for me that I need like my medium is like singing, and like that's kind of where everything kind of fits for me, and that I can kind of find free access to. And I know like when it comes to like putting an actual song together, like I don't know, I appreciate more being able to contribute something to that, or like being able to add harmonies, because like those are just the things that come easy to me, that I have the most fun with, and like I can like not kind of impede my own active participation with, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, shout out to Zach. He's on the first track. He's the opening singer of.
Yeah, we should have mentioned that
Yeah,
at the beginning of the episode.
yeah, we did. I wanted to, but I was like, "There's a couple of things going on."
Well, now here's the thing. I've known Zach for a very long time, and I'm such a good friend. I'm listening to Fever Dream Radio, and Zach was obviously the one that was like, "Hey, it's out. You better listen to it." So I did. And I hear this voice a couple times throughout the album, and I'm like, man, that guy sounds just like Zach. I should have let him know. Well, I'm glad you said something. There we go. We've got now 3 parts of Sbassbear here.
Yeah,
See,
I
you
mean,
know what? I actually I was wondering if you're gonna pick up on it. So it was just like I kind of wanted this moment to happen now, because I was like, I don't know exactly. I don't think like Jack's ever heard me sing before.
I kind of was hoping he was going to bring it up. That's why I didn't mention anything. I was like, oh, and like Zach's been a part of Sbassbear since like the very beginning. Like when we were our first process of just like holding a MacBook Pro and just singing into the MacBook mic, no microphone technology at all, and just using GarageBand. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's been like number 1 in the Rolodex of cameos.
Oh, that's awesome.
Since like 2010.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
it's great that he's on this album.
Well,
I'll never forget like that one night where we did that like TikTok before TikTok trend, where we made the Skittles vodka.
oh,
that was a great night.
And then like you guys like spent all night working on a song or something while I was like sleeping.
And then we deleted it.
Yes. And realistically, that's Fever Dream Radio in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
what I love about Sbassbear albums is that every track, like, if we've done album review episodes of Hardly Focused, and I'll play like 30 seconds of a song, or not even like 10 seconds of whatever song we're talking about. But with Sbassbear, that's effectively the entire song.
Yeah, sometimes.
And in a previous episode of the show, I mentioned that the album was out, and Mike Tarara said, how many tracks is it? Like 50? Like 77.
Yes, 77.
Yeah.
And yet it's still the length of a full album too, which is impressive.
Minutes.
So I guess this features all 3 of you, aptly named Meet the Band by Sbassbear. Here you go.
Welcome to the jam sesh. I'm your host, my name's Seth. Well, let's meet everybody in the band. Give me your name and what is in your hand.
Hey there, guys, my name is Jace. Wouldn't you know it, I play the bass.
What's up, y'all? My name is Jax. You guessed it right, I play the sax.
Hello, friends. My my name is Banjo. Did you know I play the gun? Pow, 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 boo, kapow, pow, pow, I play the gun. Wow, I like how you hard cut it. That's good. It's actually funnier that way.
that drum fill at the end with that hard cut was perfect.
I think I hard cut every track I pulled from.
Oh yeah,
the
because I
album.
mean,
it's a set. I mean, it's like, what is this like? D-Louse at the Comatorium? Like, it's
one
or is it
song.
or is it Francis the Mute? That's just like one continuous song.
I think both
Francis
of
the
them.
Mute.
Okay.
I think both of them are.
Yeah,
like,
I think technically, yeah.
continuous.
Okay.
But they like blend into each other, but I think Francis the Mute is a little like more cohesive, whereas you can tell the different tracks in
Yeah.
D-Louse.
Well,
Okay, this is the next one.
that was the moment that I realized Zach was on the album, or someone sounded like Zach, and then I found out just now it is 100% Zach. And I now, being a radio geek, I appreciate that this is like just laden with not only just like the imaging swooshes and what have you, but it is very radio themed.
Yeah, a lot of radio stingers, as they call them in the industry.
Yep.
I think one of my favorites is the way that you end that the one where it's like the what is it called? Inner Truth, I think. Is that
yeah.
Like that one is my favorite because I love jokes that wait until right to the very last second and then don't give you enough time to process what just happened. And so the next thing's happening and then you're still laughing because you just got it. And like that's one of the best ones because it's the inflection on how he says McDonald's, which is just like he didn't read any of this before he did this recording. And they're like, all right, great. All right, next. You're good. Here's your paycheck. Bye-bye.
It's like even the voice actor can't believe what he's reading at the very end.
Why the fascination with H.H. Gregg? Because that comes up in quite a few song titles.
That's become kind of like a running gag with us because we did. Oh God, where do I even start with this? Basically, we found out that there was a place called H.H. Gregg with 2 G's at the end.
Yep.
And we were like, that's not a real place. What the fuck is that? I've never heard of that. And then we started to joke about like what they would make, like washing machines and refrigerators. Like there's too many syllables and everything. And that was like the joke of it. So then we made a fake commercial for H.H. Gregg where all the products were that. And it did really well on our YouTube, like way better than most things. Like, and we considered that like kind of a shit post. So we were like, all right, let's make another one. And that one also did good. So like when it came time to make the album, we were like, well, this is kind of like an evergreen idea because we can just do like any category and like the joke will still work for that category. So we did 4 of them on the album.
Yeah.
Now,
and we just had like just huge like writing sessions where we'd be like, okay, we're going to do candy. And then we just would like look up all different candies and we would hit like record on like, you know, whatever doll we were using.
I'm sorry.
Just do it. What?
I was just sitting here thinking of one of my favorite ones where it was just like H.J. Gregg grocery. H.J. Gregg only sells fruit.
Okay. So the story behind that was we were like, let's do a grocery store. We can do like all the different foods. And then our first 20 ideas were fruit. And we were like, you know what? We could actually probably get like a part 2 where we do other types of food. So we had to kind of shoehorn that joke at the beginning of like, H.H. Gregg only has fruit so that we could make a part 2 at some point, which isn't on the album. We call it part 1 on the album and there's no part 2.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Could there be a Fever Dream Radio deluxe edition? Because that's like that's a thing now that like bands do. Is they put out like they record so much music is that you know about a year apart they'll put out the initial release and then they'll do a deluxe edition that's got a handful of extra tracks.
Yeah. So the big question for us right now is, do we want to do a full sequel?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the reason this album even exists is because I have ADHD and like I cannot for the life of me commit to one genre of music. Like I make shit. I'm just like, what am I feeling today? And I'll just make it. And then I have nowhere to put it. So eventually all that stuff, like I realized I can make this album and I can get a use out of all that shit. And that's where most of the stuff came from. Like most, especially a lot of like the instrumentals that are like, the instrumental itself is like good and not funny. We would take those and either just let them be instrumentals and be cool, or we would put like funny vocals over them. And like, now it's a Sbassbear song. So like now that the album is done, I'm like realizing, well, shit, I don't have anywhere to put my future stuff if I'm going to keep making stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm like, do I just make a sequel? You know, like, I don't know. That's a big question mark.
That's a funny video idea.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Me just explaining that? What's the video?
The video is you explaining that.
Oh.
And then just, you know, just an existential music in the background. And then just like, you know, just like you, like, just like walking and there's like nobody around.
That could be good for if I made a video to announce the sequel.
Yeah.
Like me like, explaining my anxieties and then like,
but
and then
you
it just cuts
announcing,
into like, and there's a sequel, and it's like a fucking like zooming in and out image, like, it's out. Yeah, go get it.
It'd be funny if you did that, but like there's no sequel yet. But like this is like what it would be if there was a sequel.
Yeah.
It's crazy though, because we collected like all of the music that we've made in like the last like 10 years that like never went on things. Like,
yeah,
there's of course like there's like a few like homages to like the original album that we put out that we will never let see the light of day because it's awful quality. But I guess to answer your question, Jack, I would say there's not going to be a deluxe version because everything was so planned out. We had a fucking spreadsheet for this album.
It looked insane.
Like how to put everything together so that it would just be one long track. Because I mean, there are like, you know, points where it like stops, but essentially it is just one long stream of things. Like it's a guy turning the radio and everything. But what we had to do is we had to collect all these songs that we had over the years that never went to anything. And we're like, okay, so one of them we put like some radio, you know, like it became a Ford commercial because it was just like, this sounds like such like a commercial song or whatever. Let's just do that. And we just had all of these songs, and then we're just like, all right, let's try to figure out how to piece them together. So if we were to put any sort of like extension, it would like it I guess it wouldn't work because you would have to like break it into something, or I don't know.
Were you trying to do
might as well just create a new album at that point.
Were you trying to do the Brian Wilson thing with Smile with the Beach Boys, where you're trying to like make each track is like a module that could be, you know, it could technically fit anywhere in the proposed track list, proposed sequencing?
Yes and
kind
no.
of.
I think like at some point we organized like a little bit of like, okay, like we have a couple of songs that utilize like car sounds. So like we're going to make this big segment about cars and put all those together. And I mean, that's just like one example, I guess, like, but is a real thought process. Like this is the first time that we ever actually had to like get a fucking spreadsheet and be like, oh my God, all right, this one can go here. And like, okay, if that one's there, then it can't go there. And like, then this one has to go into this one, and this one's here. So it's just putting together, forgot to mention that this album took us 3 years.
Yeah, that I've been meaning to ask how long this effectively took to assemble start to finish. So 3 years.
It was right around like the heat of the pandemic when like Dan had an idea of like creating just one long track that was just like constantly going in and out of different genres and everything. And I was like, that sounds fucking complicated. It sounded so fucking hard that I was like, I just couldn't even fathom it. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna let you figure it out because you have an idea, and I have no idea.
It's crazy because the original idea was like not even what it ended up being. The original idea was like there was a guy who got hit by a car and like he went to the hospital and was in a coma and he was listening to the radio while he was in a coma. And that was like the original conceit of the album of like why everything would make sense the way it does.
Mhm.
But then as like time went on, we realized like that's a little bit too ham-fisted. Like, I don't know. It's just too, it takes too much. What's the word for it? It's too complex to like explain at the beginning of the album to like make it make sense.
Yeah.
So instead, we originally after that idea, we dropped it and we realized like it'll be a lot smoother if we just call the album Fever Dream Radio, and it's just that already explains what it is. We don't need to explain it at the beginning of the album, and you know, it's just everything can just be whatever it is, and it'll make sense. We don't have to, you know, make an exposition for it.
Yeah.
But it's just weird how things change over 3 years.
Yeah.
I think the album art too, like, perfectly exemplifies Fever Dream Radio. Who did the album art for this?
The album art is by a guy named Felix Tish. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He's Singaporean.
Okay.
And he does concept art for Warhammer 40K.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, my buddy Jeff, Jeff plays guitar on YouTube.
Also, you should watch that one, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Check him
That's
out.
a good.
He makes like Doom music out of other video game soundtracks.
Oh, hell
Like
yeah.
the video game Doom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the it's
Like, what if
it's a really
Doom
cool concept.
Did Mega
Like,
Man or something? Yeah.
yeah, like you put it through the Doom filter for
Yeah,
like
that's
any
cool.
genre.
Yeah. So he was, I guess he worked with him before, so he hooked me up with that guy.
Nice.
And I saw his art, and I was like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah, his art. I'm just looking at stuff up now. Felix Tish. This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I love that. I mean, I
the
love it.
funniest thing happened when we like released it, where like we got like this one dude that was like, "It's fucking lame that you guys used AI to create a title, like to create a title." And my wife was like, "It's not though," and he's like, "Well, actually, I ran it through a filter, and it came up with 12% probable human, or something like that." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like ran it through some sort of AI thing to tell him whether or not it was AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dropped in and I was like, here's the artist name. He's the one who did it. And he deleted his comment.
I love it. Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
That's a little nugget of fun.
Jesus Christ. I love the aesthetic of it though. It's I mean the whole
Great.
Yeah, the whole album has like sort of like a little bit of a cyberpunk vibe to it. Maybe it's just the, you know, the color scheme, but then just the you know, the crazy sound effects. And Olive Garden announcement. Nate, is this track on the album because of me?
What?
You know how much I love Olive Garden.
Oh, I'll say yeah.
I'm kidding.
Well, hold on. I wanna chime in just because I feel like Nate deserves props on this one.
Okay.
This track came from, it was just a stand-up joke he made.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we should play a track first and you can say what the joke was after, but we turned it into a track just to sort of give it a place on the album because it was so good.
Just for context too, before I play this, I fucking hate Olive Garden, and I went, had a horrible experience, didn't go for several years until like last weekend, and while we were there, the power went out completely and just like diluted the whole experience. I'm like, well, this is not doing well for my redemption arc here. So and then to see Olive Garden announcement on the album was just the cherry on top.
Yeah.
So here it is from Fever Dream Radio.
No swamp ass though. You guys are anti-butt stuff.
Hey everyone, this is the CEO of Olive Garden. I wanted to bring everyone together as a family today to talk about the next chapter in the Olive Garden experience. And to do that, we wanted to choose a name that more closely aligned with our core values here at Olive Garden, and something that we identify more clearly with. And that's why we are renaming Olive Garden to Spaghetti Hut. At Spaghetti Hut, we know what you're getting. You know what you're getting, so let's stop beating around the bush, pretending that there's a bunch of other stuff here. There's not. There's spaghetti, and that's about it.
I love that Meet the Band is playing.
I was just going to say, like, you picked the two tracks too. With the same.
That's amazing. You didn't mean to do that, did you? That's so perfect.
Yeah.
What, cue it up crazy. That way? Or I no, that
serendipitous.
It just happened the way it did. That would have been great if those were the only two tracks that I had heard from this album.
And your really concept of the album is just different iterations of
I do love how well I know you though, Jack, because like out of all of the songs I would have expected you to pick up on, those were the two.
Yeah. Oh, so not the next one that I want to play, but before I go into that, you've got a female vocalist on the album. Who is
a couple few. or none.
Or no. Oh, okay.
Depending on your definition of a female. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No. Well, it depends what track you're talking about, because a lot of the voices on the album, in fact, most of them.
This is a big reveal. Well, I'm gonna drum roll.
He already said it.
He's going to edit it in. I was pausing.
Oh,
okay.
All right.
Anyway.
It's me. Most of the voices are me.
Oh.
And then I'm using like a voice timbre changer.
Oh. Nice.
So
wait a minute.
Some of the women that you hear are me, and some of them are not.
So the women, some of them are.
That needs to be a soundbite. Soundbite that one. That's great.
Yeah, it's just really.
I meant to play that before you guys did the reveal.
It's a really cool process where like it picks up your exact timbre, like if you're out of tune or whatever, like anything, like it picks up the little articulations in your voice, but it like transfers it, like it just
makes it sound like a different person did the performance that you did exactly how you did it.
Yeah,
which is amazing, and exactly like the timing of the tool that we used to come out when it did was so perfect for us, because we started this album before this was a thing.
Yeah.
So
you can morph your voice, but it was like very obvious that it was a morphed voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like now there are tools available where like it just like sounds like a different person did it.
You have totally one-upped Morrissey on Big Mouth Strikes Again.
Yeah. But also, let's not forget that we actually also went on Fiverr for a couple of the tracks and hired voice actors to do certain stuff.
Oh, sick.
One of them, which it's a shame we didn't use, because I guess this is a funny story, but I don't know if it's like rude to the talent, but who cares?
Okay, that's
but we'll jump into it. I mean, like, this is the story. We got somebody to do like one of the ads, and she read it, and because of the way that Dan and I write, our English is so broken. The way that she like gave it to us, it sounded more like AI than actual like AI. Like it sounded like so fake. Like it sounded so like, I don't know, robotic, I guess. I don't know like how else. And this is like somebody who works at NASA, and like this was just like her side thing was just like to do voice stuff, and we're like, that's funny to have somebody.
And not
from
well,
NASA.
hold on, not to like disparage her ability, because shit, like we hired her because we heard her work and we're like, oh, she sounds pretty good. But like,
that's
it's
what I
just
meant.
the way. Yeah, it's just, well, I just want to reiterate, like it squarely comes down to the way we write. We have a very specific like tonality in mind, and then the way she did it was not how we were thinking of it. And the combination of like, it was the Grammarly commercial, right?
Yeah.
So we have a Grammarly commercial where the whole joke is that they're speaking in broken English. But like the way she delivered it, it just sounded like an AI. And it's not her fault. It's our
not
fault.
her. No,
but,
it's not.
We just like, I had to read it the way that I originally intended when I wrote it and just like replace it. And I feel bad about it.
Meanwhile, she walked away that night to tell a friend, hey, I just recorded this script. Yeah, a couple of foreign guys sent it to me.
Yeah, pretty much, more or less. Like and I think that's what made it so. It's just so awkward because like that's our style of humor. It's just like this weird, like helloing, like welcoming into the like like you give that to anybody else and like what the fuck, like, and it's not natural at all.
Yeah,
but like since Dan and I have been like talking like that for as long as we can remember, like it just comes natural to us. So
that's probably why we thought Rap City Kids was so funny.
Oh God. Dan, does Dan know about this? Dan, have you heard of the Rap City Kids? Rap City Street Kids? It is the incredibly brief synopsis. It's from like 2002. It's a CGI Christmas film, but it's like the lowest quality animation, and this actually aired on network television.
Remember Birdemic, Dan?
Oh yeah,
it's worse than that.
Yeah,
worse than that. Like when it looks and
but
sound,
it's got like
animation.
It's an animation, yeah, and it's like it's like baby's first computer animation. And
it looks like it was made in Microsoft Movie Viewer.
But
that's my favorite aesthetic.
It makes Powered by the Cheat from Homestar Runner look like
hell yeah,
look like Oscar worthy material. But
man, we grew up on that shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
The voice cast though it's like an A-list voice cast, and Deborah Wilson of Mad TV fame voiced a grandma, and here's the award-winning performance from her.
Unedited.
See, for the kids nowadays.
What?
Christmas.
Wait, they hired her, or she did like a parody voiceover?
No, they hired her and asked her to do that. And we actually, after the episode where we first were going over this, I talked to one of my friends about it, and he showed me like the interview that she had, and like she did it. And she actually did that. That was the direction for her to give the grandma voice, like that. Yeah.
And then the film ends with
awesome.
The film ends with this gem.
Great grandma, you always know just what to say.
Christmas.
Holy shit. That's incredible.
So it's things like this that realistically flavor what I think Sbassbear kind of does, because it's that kind of shit that's you just half hear something and then you're like, what the fuck was that? Like, okay, that's funny. Like it lives in that
it's
that liminal space of comedy.
It's not funny for any logical reason. It's just it's amorphous and abstract.
Yeah. That's the best kind of humor. I mean, that's the stuff I love.
Yeah.
Now, this is the next track I'm going to play. It's the last one that I have queued up here. But Zach, you mentioned earlier just how well you know me. What track on that note, if I may put you on the spot, what track do you think resonated with me the most besides the two that I just played? Which one? I feel like this should be an obvious one. Which one did you hear and say, this is going to be Jack's favorite track on the album?
The only other one I can think of is maybe Bird Frog.
No.
I was going to say that too.
I was actually going to say Remember the Time We Met.
Yeah, see, Nate knows me well. There you go.
Well, that's just one of the best tracks on the album.
This is my favorite track on the album. Do you remember The Time We Met by Sbassbear?
Do you remember the time we met
in the bathroom of CVS?
I had suddenly pissed my pants,
and I knew that this was my chance.
So you grabbed both my hands,
and I took a deep breath,
and you looked in my eyes.
He got on one knee.
And you opened your mouth and you asked,
Can I drink your pee?
He drank my pee.
I drank her pee. Inside a CVS.
He drank it all.
Inside the stall of a CVS bathroom.
We got married the 2nd of June.
Packed our bags and we went on our honeymoon.
And we knew it was our destiny.
When I drank the pee,
He drank my pee.
I drank her pee. Inside a CVS.
He drank it all.
Inside the stall of a CVS bathroom.
Now, Dan, is that you doing all the voices?
Yeah. Yep.
That is phenomenal.
You know, what I love the most about that song is that, like, if we heard this song when we were all still in high school together, we probably all would have been singing this in the middle of school. Like, I can see kids hearing this and like just singing this with their friends and then just trying to be like shushed by a teacher. Like, I can see it. It's like it is exactly that.
It reminds me of this guy.
I drink my own urine. I've drink my own urine for the last 23 years, and I'm still alive, and I drink bleach.
Oh, yeah, you slipped that last
about?
one in there.
The last part really ties it all together. No,
That part.
What's funny about that song is I wrote it originally. I wrote the melody and the song, the instrumental, everything first without having any idea other than I wanted to make it like a weird love song. And so I went into like the lyrics just trying to figure out what it would be about. And I wrote 3 different versions of the song. And then I showed them to Nate and I was like, Nate, which one of these should it be? Because I wrote the third one I came up with was the one where it ended up being about pee. And I was like, I don't know, man. Am I going too far with this shit? Like, and I had to take a step back, take my hands off the driver's wheel and just show Nate all 3 versions. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything. Which version do you think it should be? And he picked that one. So that's
so
how I
good.
knew. That's how I knew it. I struck gold.
Listen, there are echelons of the internet that would like this song unironically. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
That was such an interesting moment for me, I think, because usually I'm the one that's like really pushing it, and then I'm like, and then you're like, this is a little bit too like absurd. And this was like one of the first times where you came up to me with like something truly absurd, and I was like, yes. 100%.
It was less about the absurdity and more about like, I don't know, it's just kind of nasty. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was. A lot of the times, like, I'll
like
say
it makes
something.
perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's not absurd in that regard, but it's just like, is this gonna like cross beyond funny and go into like cringe territory? You know what I mean?
I don't
You're
actually
always like
remember what
trying
the
to ride
other-
that line.
What were the other ideas? I can't even remember.
The first idea was that the girl tries to steal something and the guy like runs interference for them, and then they end up getting arrested and they fall in love in jail. Not funny, right? Not that funny. The second one is a little closer to the real version, which is where they meet in the bathroom of CVS. The girl's trying to take a shit. The guy asks if he can smell it. Yes, I'm reading this off of the document. And he's so impressed by the way it smells that he proposes to her right there, then and there.
Oh, that's how me and Becky met.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, there you go.
That's beautiful.
So it's, yeah. You know, some people will relate to that. But the lyrics themselves, I feel like they weren't as funny, like the specific lyrics.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we went with the one we did.
I can't believe that's you on that track.
It is that
crazy,
program
right?
is so good. Like when you first told me that, like I once I like re-listen to it, I can hear like the things that are specific about your voice that make it you in the female vocals, but like it is crazy how seamless it is because it does sound like a completely different person.
Yeah, it doesn't change like your singing style or anything about like the peculiarities of your voice, just the timbre. Which is amazing because like that's what I need.
Yeah.
Because I have a very specific performance in mind for a lot of this shit. And I just want it to sound like someone else did it.
I will say a little bit of trivia for this song is it probably took us the longest to figure out because the program really didn't like to enunciate everything. Like it wanted to say married. We had to like do so many.
We got married the 2nd of June.
Yeah, for some reason it just wouldn't. There were so many moments where it like would do something weird and it would just like break, and we would just have to like program it to be like married. Like, and then
you should have left it in, and then in the name of the song, you should put at the end featuring Barney Frank
from the Princess Bride.
No, okay. Give myself a
There we go. That's good. Yeah.
That politician sounds like Elmer Fudd. I should have said Elmer Fudd.
You could say the guy from the Princess Bride.
Wallace Shawn, that guy.
Oh,
the bald guy, right?
You know this guy.
Inconceivable.
That guy, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. Well, on that same topic, we actually have a track where it's a commercial where we leaned into trying to make the AI, like the voice changer, mess up. And we made it mess up on purpose like a bunch of times. That's betterwords.com.
Okay.
Play that one real quick.
You'll
hear like the way it can mess up, and we like did that on purpose for this one.
Remind me, what track is that?
It's called betterwords.com.
Wordables.
Like what number?
Yeah, what track number?
Yeah, good question.
Number
11.
11.
11? Okay. Betterwords.com. Here we go.
It's not don't actually go there. We're not paid.
Did you know that scientific studies show that a good vocabulus is the cornerbork to a happy lifestyle? Here at betterwords.com, we are determined to help you improvinate your wordables through repetitive practice. With our daily exercisings, you will become more intelligent and articulate. Each lesson is easily follow-alongable, as long as you pay attentioning. Betterwords.com.
More determination, worse emotion.
I want to be intelligence.
Yeah, so like the word articulated came out articulated.
Okay.
Because like for some reason it like has to know what you're saying for it to like recreate it properly.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, certain words it'll just like completely mess up.
Like each lesson it was like ooch.
Ooch lesson.
Ooch lesson.
And we're like, yep, that's going in.
I'm curious about
at Better Words.
I'm curious about track number 7. Should we interrupt the song before this? Is that an actual argument that was happening?
Oh, that's nice.
No, and I'm so glad you asked that question. That means we did a good job.
Yeah, the first time I heard it, I actually felt kind of uncomfortable because I'm like, hey, I wouldn't put it past Nate to have recorded this whole thing and then say, hey, this is great, let's put it on the album. But at the same time, assumed it was in all sincerity, and I'm like, well, boy, this is just awkward.
It was a plan from the start.
That's great.
So we wanted to interrupt the song, but then we started to like doubt ourselves on that idea. We're like, is that annoying? And then we were like, well, what if we just make a joke about it? Like, what if that's the joke, that it is stupid and it is a bad idea, and we're arguing about whether it's a good idea or not, but we still are interrupting the song. So like we didn't fix the problem. We just kind of added another problem on top in the hopes that it would be funnier and you wouldn't care.
So meta.
Which is great because then it also goes into arguably one of like the catchiest like electronica songs. Like I love Zugay Gardner. It is so fucking good. I replay it so many times when it comes up.
Hell yeah.
You've had that one for a while, right?
Yeah, that one was pretty early. Everything at the beginning pretty much was one of the earlier things we did.
What was the most challenging track to put together on the album?
Oh God, let me scroll through 77. I don't know. Honestly, I think the hardest part was just putting everything together in general, because the way we originally formatted the album was it wasn't going to be 77 tracks. It was going to be 7 tracks where each track was going to be that long stream of consciousness, the same way that it's formed, like the same way it plays out now, but it wouldn't be separated so much. So that you would be kind of forced to listen to it as like a stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
And this is going to sound silly, but the reason we didn't do that is because like that wouldn't make as much money.
Well, I mean, realistically, I get it. Yeah. Because you want to be able to like break each individual part down so you can kind of focus on it. So
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm making a joke. There's more reasons than that, but like the way Spotify works is like, as long as a song is longer than 30 seconds, if they listen to that full 30 seconds or longer, you get the same amount of money as if they listen to 30 seconds or longer of a 7-minute track.
Yeah.
Right. So right away we'd be screwing ourselves. But also we realized there was a lot of songs in here that like people would want to send to their friends.
Yeah.
Either because they like the song or because it's funny. That was the bigger reason. Right. Like I said, I was making a little jab at ourselves.
And look, there's so many of those songs too, you can easily see translating into like a TikTok trend. Like there's tons of them. Like I feel like I should already be seeing something about with this and the background. Like that's what you've got. A lot of those songs you can do that with, which is really cool. It's very memeable.
Mm-hmm. So it kind of comes down to marketing a little bit.
Okay.
Which I don't feel bad about. So
I mean, making
that's
money.
the name of the game, you know?
Yeah, don't at me.
But like really like it's smart to do it that way. Because like if somebody likes a particular song, they're gonna be so pissed off that it's in like an 11-minute chunk.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I have to scroll to this. So really it's like an annoying thing of like, you know.
I need to remember that part that I like is at 15:23 between that and 18:21. And like, it's just that part of it that I really like.
Yeah.
And honestly, to go against what you said, you could say we also sacrificed some, because some of the tracks just are so short that they won't register as a play.
Yeah, I was
there's a number of them where like we could have doubled them up, but because we wanted people to be able to share them easily, like we're just like, all right, well, we're just not going to make anything on this. Like it's just going to skip over the play of that. So
yeah, if it's shorter than 30 seconds, it basically just can't count as a play. Like not only do you not make money on that, but it will not even count as a play. So if you look at the album right now, you'll see a bunch of stuff where it doesn't even have a play count. And that's because it's just too short to even qualify as a play.
Wow, okay. Interesting.
So grindcore bands, for instance, which are notorious for making songs that are like 7 seconds, are kind of screwed on a platform like Spotify.
Yeah.
I never really considered that. That makes a lot of sense.
It's kind of silly. And it's honestly responsible for, I think, a lot of popular music getting shorter.
Yeah.
Like a lot of pop songs are only 2 minutes now.
Well, also, I blame the ADD generation too. I mean, it's attention spans.
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of related to shorter attention spans.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have a possible answer for you. I'm gonna say Quaaludes.
Okay.
Mostly for the lyrical content, because what that was a lot of trial and error. We had multiple concepts for this. Like a long time ago, we'd be like, it'd be funny to make a rap song that is just mumbling, or it's just like,
but actually
they don't like, and then but I think this was before mumble rap was even like hot.
Well, My idea that I had that I wrote down in my document was it wasn't even related to mumble rap necessarily. It was literally just what would it sound like if someone took Quaaludes and then tried to rap? And I like recorded it in my phone and I listened to it like a year later after I recorded it and I was like, yeah, that's still funny. Let's do that. So
I remember even like further back we would have like we had an idea of like mumbling stuff like like, you know, quiet. It's not the same idea. It kind of like evolved. But what that was a lot of like, we sat there in front of a microphone and we tried out different like, because the thing is, when you have like a melody and you have like lyrics, like you have a path. When you don't have like words or like any sort of melody, you're just like, you're kind of like in the dark. So we were just like, and then we would like sift through like the takes that we did and be like, well, we like this one, so we'll put this. And then I made Dan harmonize with himself on some of them, which, if you remember, he just went, and then he had to recreate that.
Yeah. So we did doubles. We did doubles and we did harmonies.
Yeah.
So doubles are throughout the whole song to like emphasize certain parts, and then harmonies on like the last chorus. So I had to like listen to what I had already done like 30 times to like fully internalize the syllables that were coming out of my mouth and do them perfectly again so that it would sound like I was making sense to myself. You know what I mean?
It's really interesting. There's a video game series that I like called Near, and one like the person who arranges the music in it kind of created her own language called chaos language, which is basically taking a bunch of different languages and using one or two of them sometimes as the base, and then coming up with syllables that still evoked the feeling of what the creator wanted each piece to evoke in different parts of the game. And it's really interesting how you can do that, and that's one of the reasons why I like the Quaalude song a lot, because like it sounds so stupid, but it works. And like that's what makes it so good, because like it's crazy to think that you actually had to go back and memorize how you did all of those like syllabic passages so that you could build it up on itself. But like
it just goes to show you that like if you have rhythm and like a style to something, it doesn't have to make sense. Like,
like chacarone.
This is why people can enjoy music in a different language. You know, because they're getting into the melody, they're getting into the rhythm or the specific way they're singing a certain thing. They don't understand it, but you don't need to.
Plus, like where we live, it's very mumble rap is very popular. So a lot of times we'll hear people driving by and it just doesn't sound like anything. Like it just is like it just like sounds like I made a joke that it sounds like those little tube things where you go like like those weird, and we actually bought like 50 of those to like try to make this it's a different idea, but the funniest thing is we went into it creating like that kind of music, and like I actually ended up liking it a lot. Like it's like really catchy. Like it's sort of making fun of mumble rap, but also kind of honoring it in the same vein. Like it's really, but I think that would be my pick for probably like one of the more complicated ones, because it was a lot of like, we had to figure out what parts go where, and then eventually we had to come up with a melody and like just do weird stuff like that. So I would say that's my pick.
Okay. Touring, doing live performances.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking like listening to this, like how would you even begin to do this besides just hit play and go
Sean.
You should. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Like you just hire a bunch of people to just like, I mean, if you really wanted to, I'm sure, Dan, you could find a way of making things so you could mix the different songs into different things, because you've have been able to do DJ stuff like that before. But like, why? Like, you should have fun. If you're gonna ever do something like this, it makes more sense to just like queue up things and then like make it entertaining for people to be there if you were ever gonna do it that way.
Don't
like,
even
I don't know.
Don't even like dance or anything. Just both of you stand on stage, hit play, start playing music. That 100%.
Yes, like that idea you had a long time ago, where like you were just gonna like put sunglasses on and just have like heavy metal going like dur, dur, and just sit there and just like staring at the TV at like the computer and just like taking like a sip of water.
Yeah, we had that idea. I'm surprised you remember that. Like,
of course, I remember that. That's
2008
like
or 2009. Where, like there was like the next big thing contests where like you could enter in your band to play at the Palladium. And like all you had to do, it was like a bringer show. All you had to do was like sell tickets, and then you could go up and do whatever. And Dan and I had like this group called Randomology, where it was just utter chaos. It more or less, it's Sbassbear without vocals.
Okay.
And we were like, it would be really funny to just go up there, hit play, and just like stand or like clap or like do like some weird thing every now and then. But
you just take out a laptop and just start like doing your day job tasks. Like just start like opening up Excel spreadsheets and
honestly, like I'd be down for like the more of the performance aspect of Sbassbear.
Yeah.
Less of like, hey, let's do music and everything like that. Cause I think for me, like it's more entertaining to have like a show than to be like, all right, let's play these songs. Let's see what they sound like live. Because let's face it, every band live sucks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a shittier version of what they sound like. And I know like that's probably going to get me some heat, but just, it's true. You don't go to a concert because it sounds good. You go there because of like, you want to be in the room with the band. You want to feel the music, but you never go like, oh, I love the way this sounds. And then, oh, it sounds even better live.
Right.
No,
unless like you're watching like a Tiny Desk, which is like specifically built to make that sound good in that small environment.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. So
yeah, well, also a lot of the bands that sound good live, like they spend like an uncountable amount of hours just mastering their instrument. I can't. I don't have that amount of time to.
Of course.
And we'd have like, we're only 2 people, you know.
Yeah.
We can't do a full band, and also we're also doing like 25 different genres, so it's just like it doesn't translate.
Not practical.
I think if we ever did a live show or like a tour, it would have to be completely bespoke to be specifically for that format. So I'd probably come up with like an hour's worth of shit that like maybe weaves in some of our music, you know, here and there, but it would just be like completely new material that is made just for live audiences.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of been beta testing like a few of our stuffs. Like it works as like you put up a backtrack and like you say stuff over it, like, and people are fine. I mean, that's getting more and more popular these days, but it all comes down to like, what's the point? Like, you just have to make it worth it. Like, you have to pick things that are worthwhile. Cause like I said, it's really tough going to a show, and like, yeah, there are bands that really put in like a lot of time, like, but still, no matter how many hours they put in, it still doesn't sound as good as like a controlled environment. These people are playing in multi-million-dollar studios that are designed to control the sound perfectly. They have all of these things that are catching the waves that are bouncing around so that they're, you know, literally, like some of them are literally floating boxes. Like they built it so that none of the pieces are touching the outer side, so like it doesn't bleed out. And that makes it sound real good. And there's no way to replicate that in a live setting because reverb will bounce all over the place, and it's just like, but
so yeah, it would be about having fun and not necessarily the music itself, I think.
You mentioned earlier that there's the collection of music that you don't want to release because of the subpar audio quality. Honestly, man, you should, because I love it when bands do that. I mean, one of my favorite bands is the Stone Roses, and they now part of it was just to fulfill a very bad record contract that they had, but they have an album called Garage Flower, which was technically their first album. It just was shelved because it sounded so bad. But then eventually it was released, and the diehard fans love just how raw it sounds, and just how like they actually really love that like shitty audio quality.
It's
you could call it Sbassbear Sbides.
I don't know.
Oh,
it is very different from it's very different. I haven't heard the Stone Roses album, but I have to imagine it's a very different, because this is not only when we were babies learning about music, but we had no production skills.
Yeah.
Like at all. This was before we learned anything about the rules or not that.
Also, we didn't have any self-reflection skills. So like we just shit something out and we would be like, it's on the album. It's already like, we already put it out. It's done. The album's done.
Yeah.
Like we started last Tuesday and we made 100 songs and it's out.
Yeah.
Like, that's how fast we were working back then.
Yeah.
So like this album we spent 3 years on, we probably have 50% of the songs that we made deleted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they weren't.
So that's the main problem. Is
or they just
there's a lot of
fit.
songs that should have been deleted and never seen the light of day.
But we were so fixated on it had to be 100.
Yeah.
So it would just be like whatever, and you know, we'd have just 2-second songs of like, what's going on? Huh? And like, all right, that counts.
Yeah.
And then but also you have to keep in mind like pretend this is a laptop. Like, oh, this doesn't work for the audio listeners. I'm holding up a little hard drive. You guys all have computers. You all have a part where your microphone is. We literally like put our mouths up to the microphone, and that was our microphone. We literally didn't have any microphones at all, or a way to plug into the computers, because we didn't have any idea of like audio interfaces. We had nothing. So like, and even for like bass tone, I would like hold my bass up to the speaker and play it, or like we would put the speaker next to like an amp, and that's how we recorded. And one of the songs I even used like a Coke can.
Yeah.
Yes.
to like capture the audio. Like
touched his bass to a soda can to make the can resonate.
Yeah, and then recorded the audio. It's so experimental, but that gives you an idea of how shit it is. I mean, it's a product of his time, but if you go back and you listen to Fever Dream Radio, it's got a quality to it, and it's almost mind breaking to like hear the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
We just had never spent as much time as we spent on this album on any other album.
Well,
the longest we had spent on an album before this was 6 months.
Yeah.
You can tell though.
That's a big jump too. 6 months to like 3 years.
Yeah.
You can but like the thing that I like about it, after having like probably being one of the few people on the planet that have been able to listen to like everything that you guys have done since the beginning, like there are things and nuances that how you guys like make and record things that like I can hear in Fever Dream Radio that like you know, I wish other people could appreciate it the same way that I did, because like I can hear like there's some like melodies and things that's like, oh yeah, I remember when you guys were just like dicking around and you just like made that melody like way back when, and I can hear that now it's part of this other thing because you guys revived it and brought it back and like made it part of something else.
Yeah.
It was a lot of what this album captured was really where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, and I think like that's what I'm most proud about. Like not that I'm not proud about like jetpacks and sandwiches or Cry Me a River, but those, like especially jetpacks and sandwiches, that album in particular was like very like, hey, let's write music that we think people will like. And like not really it's more like pop based, like that's at least how I went into it. I don't know if Dan felt the same, but it felt like for that one we were trying to be more, for lack of a better word, digestible, because our first album was all over the place and it was just chaos, and it was just really, it didn't have like a genre. It like didn't have, I mean, of course Jetpack and Sandwiches did have like different genres, but it was more like rooted in reality, whereas Fever Dream Radio kind of goes back to like that avant-garde, like ADHD, like all over the place kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it really embraces that instead of trying to conform to like something that is marketable.
This keeps coming to mind. Have you ever heard of a band called Joan of Arc?
Yes.
Their album The Gap is critics have it's one of those albums that like over time became pretty like well respected, but when it initially came out it was not, and critics called it like unlistenable because it was very avant-garde. It was just there's no like structure to it. It's more just a collection of sounds and not really any melody, but it was like I'd argue it was like intentionally experimental, and I don't know, it's just like I kind of get the vibe of like what you're doing here with Fever Dream Radio, in that it like not trying to, obviously it's listenable, it's very listenable, but you wanted to make it a unique listening experience.
Yeah.
So that's the vibe I got from it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about like the first album that we did is, okay, so the concept of the first self-titled one was literally from me being like pissed off at myself because I would write a song and then the next day I would wake up and I would hate it. Like I would put all this work into it and it would just be like, it would sound like shit to me. Like not from like a production standpoint, but just like it wasn't interesting. I was on to new things. Like my interest like evolved quicker than I would let it. So I got out my bass guitar, like my fretless one, because I knew I couldn't play fretless as good. I did some stupid shit and I said Matt Damon and I showed it to all my friends and they laughed.
Yes.
And like that was the first time like music had gotten a reaction other than like, oh, I like this, or it's good. It was like you could see the response. You could see them having a connection with the song. So naturally, we're like, let's just write 100 of the worst sounding songs that we can. So there's that. Add into the production cringe. So.
I still call it Matt Damon to this day.
Fair. You said that, and like I like the that entire song just played in my head. I have not heard that in forever, but I remember that
Pavlovian.
Yeah, but like I think it's outstanding to see like this catalog of like where we started and where we are now in terms of quality.
Yeah,
because it is fucking crazy.
It sounds polished, man. I was
and all credit to Dan because he worked his ass off.
Yeah, this
to
is great.
Learn all of this shit. He really put in the hours to like learn what a fucking compressor does, because his cousin doesn't have any idea still to this day after going to a school for audio. He's like, I think it makes things louder and some quiet.
Hey, I couldn't tell you either, dude.
I read it many times and I think I know, but I don't.
And he was doing like side chaining things so that it makes room for frequencies. And I was like, okay, this is like taking it to the next level. But then he went further to be like, all right, now I need to study music theory and like, you know, how structure works. And like, he just like kept going. And I was like, this is why I was like, this is your this is your project, this is your baby, because like I could tell he was really passionate about it. Like he was in all of the aspects. We were talking about this earlier about how a lot of times you pick and choose, like when you like something, you only like he picked all the aspects of it, and that's why the album came out as good as it did, because he really, really fucking put in the work. And I'm fucking so proud to be a part of it. And I'm sorry, I know it's kind of weird.
No, man.
It's like live, but like, and I'm not saying I didn't do anything. Like I was the one that was like, hey, remember the time we met should have a second chorus. But like, it's just, it's so cool. It's just like, it's like, I wish I could be that disciplined for sure in anything. I mean, I kind of am in comedy. And I think that's why like I put more of a focus in comedy than I did in music. Cause I was like, okay, this is what I'm passionate about. And I think between us, we make like a fucking great team. If I do say so myself, like it adds to it, but massive props to him for learning production and teaching himself and putting in the hours.
Thank you, man. Wow. That was, I appreciate that. The way I like to look at it is I was just the executive producer and you were like a co-writer. You were, you know, an actor on the project. You know what I mean? Like it's no different from a director hiring one of his family members or one of his friends to act in the movie he was making. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't downplay your involvement.
I don't mean to sound like I am. It's more like just how fucking impressed I am. Because it's like, it really is something that should be admired by everybody. Like this concept of, you know, there are things that you do and like dreams that you want, like, you know, you have a dream, but then the more you get involved with the dream, you realize there's a whole bunch of bullshit that goes with it that just absolutely fucking sucks. And like, I think that's what makes like a lot of people give up on their dreams, because they realize like the things that are bullshit, the things that suck, those are the ones that require more attention and more time. Whereas like the fun parts are just like the quick things that you get to do for fun. And it's like, oh, you enjoy that. But the real parts that like really aren't liked, the parts that drive you crazy, the parts that depress you, make you like not want to do it, those are the ones that require the most amount of time. That's just how art is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just like go out there and just like do whatever. You have to be very,
you know, like that's a good point. Like, I don't know why I've never stopped to consider like I should just put myself on Fiverr. I don't know why I ever just thought that I could just do that. And like, cause like I just want to be able to sing and do things, and I would love to make my own things, but like that is not like where my skill set is right now. But I know that I have a lot of good ideas and I have a lot of like natural like ear thing. So like maybe if I just put myself out there and keep doing things, eventually something will stick. And like that's, I feel like also the whole point of like your second to last song on this album is just like, that is something I think that a lot of people will resonate with that maybe they weren't even expecting to get with. Like, honestly, I love it because like the moment that song starts, it's like, oh, this feels like a classic a song with Alan Watts sound bites over it. And so like, I don't know, but like I vibe a lot to that idea that it is kind of hard to just make something of substance that subsists on its own when you're like kind of actively seeing it and trying to conceptualize it for what it is or for what it should be, rather than kind of letting things kind of aggregate together into something that it needs to be. So I don't know. I've personally just being involved in doing just a little bit of it want to do more. Like that's all that I came away with. Like, and like, it's the same thing. Like whenever I see like people on stage, like whenever I see like my partner Abby, like when she's like singing and doing her opera stuff, or like I see like my friends like doing crazy things, or like being on stage, like all I can think is like I want to be up there, like I want to be doing that same thing. And like that's the only thing that I'm kind of holding on to now, is like I don't care what direction that takes me, but like if this is just where my energy is and what I want to do, then like that's just the direction that I need to move in.
Fuck yeah. And I will say go for it all the way. And to those like who might be thinking like, yeah, we use like a modulator to like modulate our voice, there is a lot of songs on this album that we could not have done without somebody voice acting. So like the Metamucil one, there's no way we could have gotten like that performance out of like us, and like just articulating it. So there still is a market. A lot of people have been saying like these tools, these AI tools, like are taking away work. It's like, no, you just have to think about it in a different way. And like there are a lot of things on this album that could not have been replicated. So there's still a market.
I don't know. There's a give and take with that kind of stuff, because there are AI tools like generative AI is different from AI that is a tool for you to make stuff or change stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're just generating a song from whole cloth and throwing it up on Spotify, like that's problematic for some reason.
You should kill yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
but like,
couldn't have said it better myself.
If there's a tool that allows you to do something like change your voice, you know, that just lets you do something within your means without having to spend $100,000 on different voice actors. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because like if we had to get a different person, like we had to hire a different person for every single segment that wasn't me, like we wouldn't have been able to afford it. We just couldn't. No. So this project just wouldn't have seen the light of day, or it would have been a much more inferior version of itself. You know? So yeah, I think there's a time and place for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like that's AI in the beginning is going to be a lot of people fucking abusing the system and, you know, doing that shit. And that's what has everybody scared, but eventually we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll get into the flow of like how to get ahead of it.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, people aren't going to like the stuff that sucks.
Yeah.
Like if you don't make something that resonates with people, they're not going to want to keep watching or rewatch it or share it with people. They're not going to want to make it memeable. It's just because it sucks, and people aren't going to want to do anything past look at it once and then forget it. So like you just kind of have to make sure that you remember and retain the human element in pretty much anything that you do. And like it's kind of hard to like bypass that, because you know your own personal filter, you want the thing to feel good, and that's kind of the reason why we destroy so many things before they even see the light of day. So we should just be lucky that the 77 songs that made it on Fever Dream Radio made it.
Yeah. Thanks. Amen.
Let's bring this home here. What's next for Sbassbear?
A break.
A little bit of a break, at least from music. I mean, right now we're just figuring out how to make music videos for the songs that are more popular on the album. We were going to try and do this kind of stuff ahead of time, but like the album was already taking so long to come out, and we figured we'd get an advantage of finding what songs people like the most first, and then just do stuff with those songs. So we already have a music video out now for one of our songs. If you want to check it out on our YouTube. It's for the I love my dog butt. Not my dog butt. I love my dog, but.
In that same vein, the song Doggy Style, like high quality. Now that's clever.
That one's gonna get a video.
Oh yeah. Shout out
that's one of the more popular ones on the whole album.
Shout out to Sophie for voice acting on that.
Yep. My girlfriend was the woman on that one.
And my wife was Sometimes There's a Stick in the Road.
I love
number
that.
2.
I thought that was her.
Like we were just driving on the road and there was a stick in the road and she just all of a sudden was like, sometimes there's a stick in the road, sometimes there's 2 sticks in the road, sometimes. I thought it was the greatest thing.
It's really good.
Just remember, you can never go wrong with a picture of Reginald Vell Johnson, because that's your YouTube banner.
Yeah, we should change.
No, don't.
Or not.
Don't.
Oh, Officer Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, that's immortalized.
That man's a
as far as I'm
treasure.
concerned.
Yeah.
That's gonna stay up there until the day we break up.
Because that was because YouTube was just being such a good person. And
Oh
we're
yeah,
like,
we
well,
are
this
on
channel
YouTube,
is-
aren't we? Yeah, we
this
love
channel
you.
This channel isn't doing anything. So I was just like, let's just... Well, there you have it. There's the fact behind that. It was like we had given up. We're like, I guess YouTube's just not for us.
Yeah. To Vimeo we go.
Yeah.
All right. Fever Dream Radio is the name of the new album by Sbassbear. And you can get it on Spotify. You can get it on YouTube. On our own website, we set up a redirect to the Spotify listing for it. So it's hardlyfocused.com/Nate. And Nate, to you, I say thank you and congratulations.
Thank you for having us on.
Yeah, of course. Dan, same. Thank you for hanging out with us and making this masterpiece, this 77-track masterpiece that is Fever Dream Radio.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. And Zach, I still mind blown that that's you on these tracks.
Oh, yep.
It was great, man.
Yep.
He's got
First
some
track,
pipes.
that first track, and like, you know, I think I created, like, I did most of that vocal line myself, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like that, I can't remember. I think like you gave me like some like the bass of like what you kind of wanted it to sound like, but I kind of like.
Oh yeah, I told you the melody I came up with, and you kind of did your own. Like you followed it for the most part and did your own thing, and I was like, oh, that part's better. Let me use that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like a kind of a 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it came out great. I love it.
Thanks.
And I'm looking forward to what you guys do next with the project.
Cool.
So that is.
I mean, like, it's so scary to think of like, okay, like now follow it up again, because it was like 3 years of making music, and it was like but like not just like 3 years of making music, but like going back in our catalog and like digging up tracks that we loved and like trying to do something with, and like now that's all out there, being like, okay, like it took so long, like you don't really have the motivation to be like, all right, let's start the next one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's let this breathe for a little bit. Let's do more. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like, let's just chill. I mean, if Tool can take 10 years and put out a piece of shit, then so can
Oh.
I'm just kidding. I didn't like it though.
It was 15 years.
Nice. All right. Okay. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Likewise.
And
to just all of you.
Yes.
Yes.
Unless you're not celebrating it for some reason.
Yeah, that's fine. Do whatever you want.
You do. Yeah.
24.
You know, yeah.
Yep. All right. Thank you for listening to Hardly Focused. We'll talk at you next time. See you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Privatization may not have happened. This has been a presentation of the Solid Listen Podcast Network.